Dr. Phil. She's sold more than 20 million songs, has 145 million combined followers, top 1 billion views on YouTube. But along with the fame,
my name's Demi,
was a life or death struggle.
The very first time that I was suicidal was when I was 7.
Demi Lovato.
When I was bullied when I was 12, I turned to drugs and alcohol.
Up close.
At the rate that I was using and drinking, I wasn't going to live a long life.
And personal.
I turned to cutting. Every time I cut, it got deeper and deeper.
You've been very vocal about being diagnosed as bipolar.
Yes.
The Dr. Phil interview.
Was there a time you actually thought the best option was to take your own life? It's been 6 years you've been sober. When was the last time you seriously thought about hurting yourself?
Plus, the man she says saved her life. And the inspiring way she's paying it forward.
I guarantee you, you will save tens of thousands of lives by saying what you're saying.
Demi Lovato, up close and personal.
Demi Lovato shot to fame at a young age, starring on children's shows like Barney and Disney Channel's Sunny with a Chance and Camp Rock. Today, she's a chart-topping sensation, selling out huge concert venues and inspiring her fans.
My name's Demi.
I wanted to be like Shirley Temple, somebody that could sing and act at such a young age.
She had the nerve to sing in front of the entire school, and it was beautiful. That was the first time I thought, okay, this is probably what she's gonna want to do the rest of her life.
I don't know how I knew I had it in me, but I knew that it was what I was supposed to do.
I started to realize that Demi was gifted, not human, when it came to her voice.
Teen sensation Demi Lovato is having a great year. You ever have time to just relax and be a kid and have fun with girlfriends?
I am a kid right now, and I am totally relaxed, so I guess so.
I'm looking towards to doing more projects, hopefully feature films one day, and making more albums.
But Demi's road to success wasn't easy. For years, the Grammy-nominated superstar battled secret demons. During her darkest hours, Demi says she even contemplated taking her own life. She eventually hit rock bottom.
Demi Lovato makes a shocking revelation. She couldn't go more than half an hour to an hour without having cocaine.
Demi Lovato confirms to ET that the 18-year-old has left her concert tour and has checked into a treatment facility to address, quote, emotional and physical issues.
Demi was about to go on tour with the Jonas Brothers until she abruptly canceled after freaking out and punching one of her own backup dancers.
Demi has decided to take personal responsibility for her actions and seek help.
Demi says she credits Mike Bayer, a personal development coach and CEO of Cast Centers, with saving her life.
I met Demi Lovato about 7 years ago. She was struggling with a lot of different issues back then. She was hopeless and didn't really have a purpose. What people saw with Demi Lovato on the outside was not at all what was going on the inside. Depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, she had an eating disorder, she had struggles with staying sober. And so what she did is she made a decision, and we worked together on reducing and eliminating a lot of those issues.
Demi says Mike inspired her to live openly and authentically, to share her battle with mental illness in an effort to take the stigma away. After becoming a joint owner of Cast Centers in West Hollywood, California, Demi decided to take it one step further and work with Mike to make her concert tours about more than just the music.
After Demi got well, her and I came together and thought, how can we leverage pop culture to do good? And how can we communicate all the stuff that we've learned together? And so we created Cast on Tour.
I'm 4 years sober now, which is awesome.
In every city, we have different speakers come out who align with the Cast Centers brand and align with her messaging.
You have to love yourself, but you've got to do something for someone else first.
Hopefully we can make it just more about wellness, and so the taboo doesn't have to be completely stuck to the idea of getting help.
Demi is an incredible partner to have at Cass Centers because she's honest, she's inspirational, she's even mentored some of our clients, she's sponsored some of our clients. When I look around and I see what we've created, it makes me feel incredible.
Demi asked me to be a special guest speaker at Cast on Tour, a free event held before every concert on her Tell Me You Love Me tour, and I was honored to do so. Demi is now happy and healthy and back on top. As she came up on her 6th year of sobriety, I met her backstage at the LA Forum. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Had some meetings this morning, and now I'm just ready to get on stage.
So how long you been on tour this time?
This is the 3rd show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's still fairly new. I heard your son is in a band.
Yeah, 100-handed.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
they've got a song in the top 40, and
Okay.
he loves it. So
That's
he's a
awesome.
huge fan of yours.
Well, maybe he can make it out to another show.
Yeah, he definitely will do it. So
That's awesome.
Before she took the stage in front of thousands of fans, Demi sat down with our cameras for a revealing look at her past struggles and her life now. Well, Demi and Mike, you guys tell me, how did this whole thing come about? Why are we here? Why did we do this?
I actually went to Cast as a client, and I went there because I had a bad shroom trip, and I called my therapist in the middle of the night and said I need a sober companion, and she set me up with Mike. I ended up moving into sober living at Cast, and I was there for over a year, and Cast was a huge part of my recovery. So now I co-own it with Mike, and we have this incredible experience before the show, every performance that I have, where we bring in people to have kind of this group therapy, motivational session with my fans. And it's really been received really well. People have said that it's changed their lives, that they've learned so much, and so I'm extremely grateful not only for this experience but for Mike.
Why did you decide to use your life this way? Because let's face it, most people hide what you're highlighting.
I went to church camp one time, and there was somebody who spoke in tongues over me, and I grew up Christian, so I wasn't familiar with this experience. And I remember them prophesizing over me, saying that one day you'll be a hero to tens of thousands of people. And luckily my platform has reached many more through social media and through my work, but it was that day that she said, you'll be a hero to thousands of people, and she said it would be through the arts. And I knew in that moment that if I ever were to make it as a singer, I kind of made this pact with God that said, God, if you give me the opportunity to live my dreams, I will pay you back, and I will live my life in hopes of helping others.
There was a point in time where you took the wrong fork in the road. Take me through the moment that you've identified as the defining moment when you took that wrong fork and it started to crumble on you.
There's been many forks, unfortunately. My story had many ups and downs, and I've hit rock bottom in different aspects of my life. There was one moment where I was drinking vodka out of a Sprite bottle at 9 in the morning at the airport, and I had thrown up in the car service. And I just thought to myself, this is no longer glamorous. It's no longer cute, it's no longer fun. I'm like my dad. And I felt pathetic, and I knew that I had to change. So the next day I went on American Idol, still hungover, and afterwards we had an intervention with my team, and I made a decision in that moment that I was gonna change my life around.
At that moment, did you know how much danger you were in?
At that moment, yes. I
knew this could unravel.
Yes. My addiction with drugs and alcohol was very severe to where I had several scares, and I knew that at the rate that I was using and drinking, I wasn't gonna live a long life. I knew that I didn't drink and use for a long period of time 40 years, like a lot of people sometimes deal with drug and alcohol addictions. I used very fast, very hard.
In America, I had anxiety around this interview. Why is that? Because the last time I did an interview this long, I was on cocaine. I was either craving drugs or on drugs. I was using while I had a sober companion. And I went through about 20 different sober companions. It's embarrassing to look back at the person that I was. You really have to lean into the people that are trying to support you and surrender, because that's when the change is going to happen.
I've spent my life trying to figure out why people do what they do and don't do what they don't do. Why did you turn to that when you did?
I think it was a plethora of things. I think that it had to do with growing up with an alcoholic father, and my mom also struggled with some things, but my father left my family and chose addiction and alcoholism over me. So I felt this hole and this abandonment that I still feel to this day sometimes. And it felt as if he chose that over us. And so I knew that there was something glamorous or fulfilling about alcohol and drugs. And when I was bullied when I was 12, I was searching for something to numb me out and to fit in. And I turned to alcohol, and that's where I felt relief.
When you were 10, you were already on Barney and Friends. I mean, you were already getting famous. What were you being bullied for?
A lot of it was because of the work that I was doing. I got made fun of for being on Barney.
Wow, you were great, Barney.
The thing that really hurt me was that friends turned on me. It was over petty drama that 12-year-olds have in the 7th grade. And the reaction to it was so much more extreme than what was normal. They had a suicide petition, and they passed it around the school and got people to sign it. I was cyberbullied, and they made fun of my weight. And it was at that moment where I decided that I was going to not eat anymore, and I turned to drugs and alcohol.
So the roots were way back then. What state was she in when you met her the first time?
First time I met Demi was at her house, and her parents were there, and I walked in because she had asked to have a sober companion, which normally clients don't ask for sober companions. Normally it's the parents who really force it. So she had reached out to her therapist had me come over, and she, just empty is the word. When I first met Demi, she was sleeping 16-hour days, canceling. I mean, you canceled most things or tried to push, not inspired by anything, so just a real depressive state.
What was she being treated for at the time?
At the time she reached out to us, she had been through residential treatment before she came over to me, and she initially was being treated for addiction, drug addiction, alcoholism.
The beauty about CAST is that CAST helps with multi-diagnosis. With CAST, I was able to get help not only for my drug addiction and alcoholism, but also for just mental health overall, and my eating disorder. I've gotten help through that as well.
So it's a dual diagnosis treatment center.
We
so
are.
You deal with comorbidity.
Oh yeah.
Everything at the same time. And you've been very vocal about being diagnosed as bipolar.
Yes.
Do you think that's an accurate diagnosis?
I think it's an accurate diagnosis. When I was diagnosed at 18, I looked back at my past and I felt like this overwhelming sense of relief. I can't really explain it other than saying like, oh, that makes sense. Finally, I had a diagnosis and I was able to get on medication and get the proper treatment that I needed.
I just wanna have some fun with you. Got my mind on your body and your body on my
We now return to Demi Lovato, up close and personal.
Mic check. Music gave me a purpose when I was bullied in school.
Really?
Yeah. It gave me the motivation to prove to everyone that didn't believe in me that I was going to be something someday.
You say you still have times that are difficult and you struggle with now. What are the hard times now like?
The hard times now I deal with, I think the everlasting addiction in my life has been food. My eating disorder started when I was very young. That's something that I still work on a daily basis, and it's kind of the last thing to go. I feel like I've conquered my addiction and alcoholism in a way where I don't even think about it anymore. But my struggles with my food issues are something that I still deal with, but I'm growing and I'm in a really good place today.
Was there a time that you actually thought the best option was to take your own life?
The very first time that I was suicidal was when I was 7, and I had this fascination with death. I have experienced things that I've not talked about and that I don't know if I ever will talk about. But at 7, I knew that if I were to take my own life, that the pain would end. And so it's been this thought where it came back when I was bullied. It came back several times when I was struggling with depression, my bipolar disorder. I turned to cutting, and there was a while there where my mom was afraid to wake me up in the mornings because she didn't know if she opened the door if I would be alive or not. And because every time I cut, it got deeper and deeper.
When you thought about taking your own life, was it driven by rage or was it driven by sadness?
It was driven by sadness. It was loneliness and depression. And I believe that a lot of that had to do with unresolved issues with my birth father that I hadn't dealt with yet. Now that I've gotten older and I've been able to grieve the loss of him, and I've been able to step back and look from a distance that he was mentally ill and that it wasn't his heart that meant to abandon me, I've been able to overcome his loss and understand where everything went wrong, and that sadness has been going away.
Demi has said that she credits you with saving her life. What do you think when you hear her say that?
I mean, she saved her own life. I was just fortunate to be a part of that process. The first time I met her, a few weeks later, we went to Chile. First time I'd ever seen her perform. She's 40,000 people in Iquique, Chile. We always talk about this trip because we couldn't get peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They had like no food. And after her performance, I went up to her room and she talked to me about jumping off the edge of the hotel. After she's performed, everyone's loving her. I was like, oh my gosh, she's really talented. And yeah, she's done the work, and she's an incredible woman, and I'm proud she's a friend and partner. You know, it's not normal that someone would have been a client and then they become a partner of a place, but then when she came around and was like, I want to open up a treatment center, I mean, we have a close relationship and we love each other. And that's why we even do Cast on Tour, is so that we can continue that.
We're in 2018 now. You've been sober 6 years?
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations on that, by the way, because
you.
I know how hard that can be. 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I had a moment this year when I wrote out a list with my friends of our New Year's resolutions. We each made a list. And on my New Year's resolution, it wasn't to stay sober. It was just not on the list. And I realized, wow, my life has gotten to a place where I don't even have to write it on my New Year's resolution list. It's just my life now. I don't drink, I don't use. And that's so freeing and fulfilling to me.
Oops.
Let's go again.
Okay.
Demi Lovato, up close and personal. The Dr. Phil interview.
It's been 6 years you've been sober. When was the last time you seriously thought about hurting yourself?
I think there's been times where I haven't thought of hurting myself in a really long time. I would say it's been years since that, but there's definitely been times where I've thought about life would be better if I was high. Life would be better if I were to drink again. And that's a part of the struggle. That's something that you deal with as a recovering addict and alcoholic. You know, you get tempted sometimes, or life throws things at you that you don't feel like you can handle. And you think it would just be better if I could numb out. But those are struggles that I continue to fight. And the more that I fight those, the longer I stay sober, the stronger and more resilient I become. And then I'm able to be an example for all of the people that are at my show tonight, for all the people that follow me on social media and see me walk the walk. You know, I'm able to be an example for them, and most importantly, my little sister, who's 16 and going through some of the things that I was faced with when I was younger, you know, just the pressures of being a teenager.
You know, one thing too is she opens up the whole concert, which I think is fantastic, with this song called You Don't Do It For Me Anymore, and initially it was about alcohol. She literally rises up, no big lights, just her soul singing. The song hits me every time. Don't do it for me anymore. I know it's taken on different meanings for her. Every night you write something you want to give up.
Every night before I walk on stage, I write in a book. I write the date, I write what doesn't do it for me anymore. And it's been, so far I've only had 2 shows, tonight will be the 3rd, but it's been my eating disorder doesn't do it for me anymore, and drugs don't do it for me anymore.
I mean, that makes me so proud, because you get to see someone get to the other side.
Mike, you were kind enough to give our cameras a tour of Cass Centers. Tell me the philosophy, the mission statement behind Cass Centers.
Cass Centers' tagline is freedom to be your best self. The work we do is about being thinking partners to help people find themselves. Welcome to Cass Centers, located in West Hollywood, California. We are a destination for recovery, and everything we do with Cast on Tour starts here in our offices. The reason why we're called Cast is because a cast holds a broken bone in place till it can heal. This is one of our group rooms at Cass Centers. Demi comes every 3 weeks to a month, depending on her tour schedule, and she will participate in group and help some of the clients through her own inspiration, which I think is pretty unique. We have several people here. Hey guys. It's Kaja and Michael. I love hiring people who have been through our program, had success stories. They know our model, they know what we do. We offer a lot of different clinical services to help people dig in and heal whatever traumas they have that are keeping them from being their best self.
It seems to me that the individual is a very active member of the treatment plan, the treatment team. They don't come in and be passive. They take ownership in what's going on.
They do, and everyone has a different treatment program. So we customize it. So nothing's cookie cutter. We also have apartments, because our belief is people are gonna live in apartments of their own home when they leave, so we try to mimic their life.
Demi, I'm sure you've heard the term health engendering personality. There are just those people that when you're around them, you feel better about yourself for being around them. He strikes me as being a person that has a health engendering personality. Oprah's that way. You can't be around her and not feel better about yourself.
You are that way.
Well, thank you. That's a compliment. He has what you call an affidavit face, you know, you just believe what he says, and it's health engendering. You responded to that, obviously.
I knew that when I met Mike, there was a level of trust that I didn't understand, but I just felt. And I gave my issues, I completely surrendered to him. And I had to do that several times because for me, it wasn't just a one and done type of situation. I had many interventions with him, but I think ultimately he's somebody that makes me want to be a better person. He's somebody that's believed in me when nobody else did and really fought for me. And when everyone else was gonna leave, he was gonna stay.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to tell him no.
Oh, she has.
I've told her no
she
many
told me
times.
plenty of times. Demi's very tough.
Coming up, hundreds of people showed up for Demi's Cast on Tour before her performance at the Forum in Los Angeles. I was so happy to have the opportunity to speak to and reach her fans who came. They showed up for this event solely with the goal of working on their mental health and wellness. They didn't even know Demi was going to be with me.
We staan nog steeds in
Our second tour, we did about 45 cities before, and when we heard that Dr. Phil was willing to speak at Cast on Tour, Demi and I were so excited because it's another way that pop culture can come together to make people realize it's cool to work on yourself.
Let me tell you, you're creating meaning to the suffering. That's the huge thing. I mean, I'm so impressed with this. I can't even tell you.
Welcome everyone to Cast on Tour. So happy you guys have come out for this.
Okay, I'll see you out there.
See you out there.
So please welcome Miss Demi Lovato.
Hello, thank you so much for coming.
So please welcome one of America's most well-known, trusted mental health professionals, Dr. Phil McGraw.
Guys. Well, you clapped longer when Demi came out. Of course, I look like an old catcher's mitt, so I understand. First, I really want to acknowledge Demi. We were just talking in the green room. My dad was a psychologist as well, and so I grew up around this, and I remember when he was in private practice, people would borrow a car to go to their appointment because they didn't want anyone in town to know that they were going to get help from a psychologist. There was that much stigma. And for someone that is as high profile as Demi, a worldwide icon, to step up and say, yeah, I have some issues and problems that I've had to fight and deal with. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm going to use my life in that way. I'm telling you, that is a game changer, and that is huge, and thank you for doing that. Now, I want to use this time to talk to you guys about some of the things that I think Demi has really grabbed by the horns and made a big issue in her life. You're here at the forum because you care about something. For me, everything starts with authenticity. I'm going to ask you some questions that I want you to take home with you and ask yourself. Are you doing what you're doing today because it's what you want to do? Or are you doing what you're doing today because it's what you were doing yesterday? We all have a personal truth, what we believe when nobody's looking and nobody's listening. Now, why is that important? Because we generate the results in life we believe we deserve. And here's the mistake that young people make. And I know this because I did it. I was raised by an alcoholic father in a violent home. And when I say alcoholic and violent, I'm talking about you go home and they're kicking the windows out. And that causes you to have a damaged personal truth. And here's the mistake young people make. You compare your personal truth to the kid sitting next to you's social mask. They put their best foot forward. They're all shiny-faced and they look great, and that's their social mask. You compare your personal truth to it. Do you have a damaged personal truth? Because if you do, you'll start self-medicating. If you do, you'll start pulling back and marginalizing yourself from society. You'll start generating second-class grades. You'll start generating results you think you deserve. And then you'll start numbing yourself with alcohol, cocaine, heroin, whatever. And what do you do instead? You repair your personal truth. I'm a strong believer that a whole lot of mental illness comes from living an inauthentic life, living somebody else's decision for who you're supposed to be. Thank you very much. Okay? I'll take some questions from the audience. How's that?
Growing up as a kid, did you ever suffer with any PTSD or depression?
Yes. Not PTSD, but when I was 14, I was homeless because, my dad and I had to move to Kansas City and he couldn't afford to take the rest of the family. And we got up there and things went really bad and I was living on the street and he had gone away. I got bored depressed. Now, I'm from Texas, like Demi here, and you'll relate to this. In Texas, if you've ever started to walk across an asphalt road in August barefoot, you don't know hot. I'm talking about hot where you look out in the backyard and your dog burst into flames, okay? Now, what are you going to do? You're either going to race forward or race back. You're not going to stand in one place and just melt. Pain is going to cause you to move. It's going to cause you to change something. And that's what happened to me when I was depressed on the street. It caused me to change something. It caused me to become an agent for change in my own life. Thank you for your time and attention. And Demi, this shines a big, bright light on this, and that takes so much courage. Thank you for doing this. Thank you so much.
He was abusive. He was mean, but he wanted to be a good person, and he wanted to have his family. And when my mom married my stepdad, he still had this huge heart where he would say, "I'm so glad Eddie's taking care of you and doing the job that I wish I could do."
I know you never got the chance to be yourself, to be your best.
He knew he wasn't capable of raising a family. And it was because of his mental illness. To know that it wasn't fully his fault really was saddening to me. I wanted to write about it. I wanted to process it, and Lale really helped me do that.
She has a song called Father.
I know the song.
Oh, you do?
Oh, you do?
Yes, of course I do. I'm a fan.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah, I thought the song was profound.
Thank you. I perform it tonight.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And this was the first tour
Is
that...
it hard for you?
Yeah, very hard. This is the first tour that I've performed it on. I've only sang it live 3 times, and tonight will be the 4th.
Did you get through it okay?
I get through it okay, but I realize that I can't just shut out this performance. You know, I can't just like not play a song. The healing is through performing it.
Yeah.
He passed away when I was 20. And at the time I was so conflicted because I had so many emotions around him. A part of me hated him, a part of me loved him, a part of me felt sorry for him.
Weren't you pissed that he died before you got a chance to tell him you were pissed?
Yes, but I had stopped communicating with him when I was about 14.
Yeah.
And because I realized when I was 14, I had a friend say to me, "Why do you keep talking on the phone to him when it just makes you cry and it just hurts you?" So I think he knew I was upset with him, and then the worst part about it was I didn't get that closure until he passed away.
Yeah, if they die with unfinished emotional business and you can't say it, then you're stuck with it. I mean, I've had people write letters to their dead parents before, and it is cathartic.
Yeah, I've done therapy where I sit in front of an empty chair and I share my truth with the empty chair as if he was sitting there.
Yeah.
And it was extremely healing for me.
Yeah.
It makes me so happy having you both do this. You guys have such massive platforms for change. I mean, people listen to you guys. That's a unique gift that you both have.
Yeah, it's people in this world today are searching for someone to relate to.
Yeah.
Because everything on social media is glamorized.
Yeah.
And you don't show your true, you wear the mask, just like you said. And it's so important for me not to wear that mask because I needed somebody to look up to when I was younger that was real and authentic. And I have a little sister who's 16. I want her to grow up in a world where people are real and authentic as well. So I wanted to be that role model for her.
But you know what people say? If Demi can admit it, I can admit it.
Mm-hmm.
And if she can reach out for help, then why should I be ashamed to reach out for help? I guarantee you, you will save tens of thousands of lives by saying what you're saying. I could show you the emails we get, thousands and thousands of them. And the fact that you're willing to do it gives them permission to do it. You guys are doing it.
3 of us, all 3 of us got
All 3 of us, there we go.
I want you to think back to the last time you seriously considered killing yourself. There are millions of young girls watching this conversation right now. What would you say to that Demi today that wanted to take her life those years ago?
I would say hold on, because the longer you go without acting on an urge, the easier that it will be for you, and the more resilient, the more strong that you'll become, and you'll be able to show that light to so many people. It's a very, very serious thing to want to take your own life, to consider taking your own life and taking your own life. And it's not something that should be thought about lightly. And if I could tell anybody that's thinking about taking their own life, is to reach out to people. Don't hold it inside, don't isolate. Reach out to people, whether it's close friends, family. If you feel like you don't have anybody, look within yourself and try to find that resilience that will ultimately get you through whatever it is you're going through. Every single person on this planet is worth life.
I think you've saved tens of thousands of lives just with what you've done today. It's multiplicative with what you're doing with this whole cast tour and your transparency. Had you taken your own life, those lives would not be saved.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how glad are you that you didn't do that? You've got to realize the impact you're having.
I knew that if I had taken my own life, that it would hurt the people around me, and I care too much about my family and my friends. And I knew that I had a bigger purpose in life. And I'm very, very grateful that I'm still here today and that I didn't give in to urges, and that I'm able to help people and be an example for them, especially my little sister.
How has your internal dialogue changed? Because you had to be saying things to yourself before that you're not saying to yourself now.
Yeah, my inner dialogue has changed so much. I want the help, therefore when I look in the mirror and I see something that I don't like, I change that thought instantly into an affirmation, a self-affirmation, where I say, no, you're not gonna think like that. You're beautiful, you're worthy of love, and you're worthy of a happy and healthy life. And that kind of changes my energy, my mood. And sometimes I have to fake it till I make it. Sometimes I don't believe it, but I say it because I know that eventually I'll believe it. And it's kind of changed my life today.
I've been in this for 45 years, and what you two are doing is unique and it's phenomenal. And this cast on tour and the cast center, you guys are changing the world. I mean, God bless you for what you're doing, and God bless you for saving her, because she's a game changer.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be sitting here with both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New